$143,442.74. No, that's not the cost of my house. That is a phone bill an American man received after a trip to Switzerland. Now you might be thinking, wow, he must have done some serious streaming. Well, actually, Rennie Raymond only consumed 9.5 gigabytes of data. That's 15 grand per gigabyte, or the cost of this Audi Q7.
Renee says he's been with T-Mobile for close to 30 years. He told me he notified the carrier of his travel plans.
I said, you're covered. You're covered.
You're covered.
What's even more shocking is that T-Mobile, who were responsible for sending that bill, did the same thing only a month before. And these aren't isolated incidents. Ridiculous phone bills like these keep happening because of data roaming charges, which begs the question, how much does it cost networks like T-Mobile to provide this data? Because it seems to be more expensive than buying a Ferrari. I mean, they charge this guy Rennie $15 for 1 megabyte. That's like sending 6 emails or listening to the first 2 minutes of Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, you could argue that this is his fault for not knowing how much his carrier would charge him, and that's valid, but let's take a moment and ponder the fact that these prices even exist in the first place.
8,000, 7,000.
To me, that is just terrifying, and I'm not the only one that's afraid of this. A lot of people, in fact, are pretty scared of using data abroad, and I think carriers or networks actually like this fear because it means people are willing to pay extra for specific roaming plans, which I also think are broken and overpriced. Okay, so I'm on the T-Mobile website. I thought we could take a look at this first and see what's going on. Now, they have a lot of plans. Honestly, it's quite confusing, but their cheapest is Essentials Saver, which is $50 a month, and ironically, not that good for saving money, nor for the Essentials. I don't even think this plan has data roaming, or if it does, it's probably the one that charges $15,000 per gigabyte. So if you're going abroad, you definitely don't want that one. The next is Go 5G and costs $75 a month. For that, you'll get 5 gigabytes of high-speed data in 11 countries, or a measly 256 kilobytes per second, which, to put into context, is just twice the speed of ISDN, which I had when I was 12. I'm 34. The fact they're still offering speeds like this is just criminal. Anyway, most people, they don't want to pay $75 a month for data roaming, especially if they travel just once a year. So day passes are far more attractive. T-Mobile has these $5 day passes. For that, you get half a gigabyte of data and the luxury of hotspotting, which might not be the best idea because a phone and another device sharing just half a gigabyte will probably last as long as a sumo wrestler on a treadmill. It's going to run out very quickly, and I think most people are probably settling for this $35 10-day 5 gigabyte one, which might sound okay, especially compared to being billed $143,000, but what I'll show you shortly compared to this is far cheaper and better. But first, let's look at AT&T and Verizon, who also have international day passes. They're actually $10 a day plus taxes and fees, but they do come with unlimited data. And while that may seem like a reasonable amount of money per day for a shorter trip, if you're gonna go away for a longer, say, I don't know, 7-day holiday, then that's going to quickly add up. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to calculate that a 10-day holiday is gonna cost you $100 for data roaming. And most people are just using their data to check the weather and get to the nearest public toilet, but that's gonna cost them $10 a day to take a leak. Lucky for us, they do cap this to 10 days per billing cycle. So if you went away for a month or let's say 28 days, then you're doing okay because you basically get unlimited data for around $3.50 per day, which isn't $15,000 per gigabyte or the cost of this Jag. Also, just to kick you in the teeth, because these day passes come with unlimited data, once you've used 2 gigabytes in a single day, you'll be throttled, but don't worry, you'll get to enjoy unlimited 3G. I'm sorry, but what's enjoyable about speeds of up to 2 megabytes per second? Unless, of course, you enjoy watching this over and over. Seriously, we don't need to settle for this. We don't need to be throttled, and we especially don't need to buy expensive roaming plans. Thanks to the invention of eSIMs and Google, as well as Apple pioneering them, we now have a really easy and affordable way to access data, and we're no longer stuck with whatever roaming package our carrier sells us because a contract says so.
You're covered.
You're covered.
And thanks to dual SIM technology, we now have the flexibility to switch between your standard, let's call it your home carrier expensive SIM, and your travel and affordable eSIM. There's also other benefits to eSIMs. Obviously, there's no physical SIM, so you don't have to waste time looking for an earring or a needle just to open your SIM tray, and you don't need to visit a physical store to buy one. There are some drawbacks. Firstly, some phones can't use them. We actually have this handy list that we update often so you can check if your phone is compatible. I'll link it below. Also, there's a false perception of installation complexity, which ironically is a really complex way of saying that. Basically, people think it's really bloody hard to install them, but honestly it isn't. Providers make it super easy and it should just take you a few minutes. But even if you have difficulty, or perhaps you're not that savvy with technology, then just watch an amazingly detailed guide on YouTube. Link in the description box. And once it's installed and activated, you'll become data roaming enlightened, so no more fear of huge roaming bills or the anxiety that you'll end up like Rennie. Obviously, you'll have to pay some money for an eSIM, but they're very reasonably priced. Let's look at one of the most popular providers out there, Airalo, or Airalo. Not sure precisely what it is.
Try your first eSIM. Visit airalo.com.
Most of us, when we travel, we require 2 to 5 gigabytes per week. That should be enough to do some social media and streaming, navigating, whatever floats your boat. So let's say you want to go to the US. Airalo has 5 gigabytes for $16, and that'll last up to 30 days. It also uses our friends T-Mobile and Verizon and has 5G, so you don't need to worry about reduced speeds or getting to enjoy 3G. Now, if we look at somewhere even more exotic, let's say Japan, 5 gigabytes is actually cheaper at $11.50. And that should be enough to cover light data use for at least 1 to 2 weeks, and it's all just $11.50, or the price of this car. You also won't be throttled with this eSIM or any like it because you have your allotted amount of data and it's yours to use up as quickly or as conservatively as you please. But if you are planning on using a lot, then a provider like Airalo might not be the best choice. Exceeding 5 to maybe 10 gigabytes per week or frequently topping up their eSIMs will begin to get expensive and potentially exceed the amount you could pay with your network. So if that's the case, providers like Holafly or Yesim may be a better choice for you. They offer unlimited packages, and a 7-day trip to Japan, for example, will cost between $27 and $29. Although, just like the carriers we mentioned and their $10 day passes, unlimited data doesn't mean unlimited speeds, and you will likely be throttled if you use a lot. This happened to me. I downloaded movies to test Holafly, and once I'd used around 2 to 3 gigabytes, which is actually how much Verizon state you can use before being throttled, my speeds with Holafly were cut in half, although they did reset the next day. But this is the downside to going unlimited. But of course, the upside is that you don't have to worry about usage and there's no need to track or be considerate with what you're doing. And of course, they'll probably still work out cheaper than your day pass or monthly pass that your carrier has to offer you. That doesn't mean there aren't expensive eSIMs. Take this one from Airalo, for instance. It comes with data, calls, and texts, works across 125 countries, but has a pretty hefty price tag. But you're paying for global reach, loads of data, and also the ability to make and receive phone calls. But something like this, your carrier could probably provide you for cheaper. But for small data usage, providers like Airalo reign supreme. We actually also have discount codes available which will make their eSIMs even cheaper. New customers can get 15% off and existing customers 10%. I've placed those codes in the description box along with affiliate links for the providers I mentioned, so if you fancy supporting myself and the channel, then please consider using them. This video is really just part of our campaign to help get the message out about eSIMs and their affordability, as so many people like Rennie are still unaware of them. And that means lots of money being wasted on excessive charges or ridiculous phone bills. But together, we can fight back by liking this video if you want and encouraging people to check out eSIMs. So hopefully the Rennies of the world can avoid spending thousands of dollars on data and instead go buy themselves a house. Hope you found the video useful. If you're interested in learning more about Airalo, then click this video and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.